okay, let's unpack this. We talk about sports, we talk about seasons, and usually we're just looking at a schedule. Game 1, game 2, by week.
Right, a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get a setup that feels less like a spreadsheet and more like, I don't know, a movie script.
Yeah.
We have been poring over the Saturday Sim Central preseason kickoff, and honestly, calling it football just feels like an undersell.
It really does. This is narrative warfare.
Yes, it's revenge arcs, it's dynasties in the making, it is a recruiting landscape that is basically on fire.
It's a full-on narrative engine this year. I was going through the notes from the Sim Central analysis, and what stands out isn't just the raw talent, and believe me, there is plenty of that. It's the stakes.
The stakes.
Yeah, you have coaches with absolute championship DNA moving to new schools. You have a transfer portal that has completely reshuffled the deck, and you have this overarching tension between the teams trying to hold on to power.
The team's trying to violently take it.
Exactly.
And that, right there, that is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to navigate this landscape. We're going to look at the contenders, the so-called sleeping giants, and the specific players who are going to define this whole simulation season.
But before we get into the weeds of the depth charts, you have to look at the big picture.
You do. And the big picture seems to be dominated by two very specific words: dynasty and revenge.
It's rare that you get such a clean thematic split. But yeah, those two concepts map pretty clearly onto the two programs sitting right at the top of the food chain.
Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech.
Yep.
Let's start with the standard, the dynasty. Georgia Tech, just looking at the numbers for their head coach, Justin Clark. I mean, I had to double check this because it sounds fake. He's 28-2 at Tech.
28-2.
It's a video game record.
It's staggering efficiency. And remember, that record comes with hardware. He has 2 national championships to his name, one from his time at Georgia Southern and, of course, one at Tech. When you have a coach operating at that level, you aren't just winning games. You are building a legacy. You're chasing historical greatness. It changes how the simulation treats you. You become the final boss.
And usually, when a team wins a title, you expect a drop-off, right? The championship hangover, a rebuilding year.
Their seniors graduate, everyone takes a breath.
But looking at this roster, it doesn't look like they're rebuilding at all.
No, and that's the scary part for the rest of the league. They are reloading, and they're doing it in a very modern way. Look at the transfer portal. They didn't just grab bodies to fill spots.
No, they went headhunting.
Headhunting is the perfect word. They brought in Isaiah Boss, the linebacker from UGA. The scouting report literally calls him a heat-seeking missile.
I love that description. It paints such a vivid picture. It implies velocity.
It implies he doesn't just tackle, he diagnoses the play, and he arrives with bad intentions. And think about the context. Grabbing a linebacker from Georgia, that's stealing from a rival. That adds a layer of grit to the defense immediately.
Okay, but then you flip to the offense, and specifically the youth. Cam Bullock, a freshman quarterback. Usually you hide a freshman.
You hand the ball off, run play action, protect him at all costs.
But he's not being talked about like some rookie who needs to learn the ropes. He's being labeled the most electrifying young passer in the country.
And that label, electrifying, is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. In a simulation environment, that usually means high variance, sure, but a massive ceiling. He can make throws that a steady veteran simply can't.
That is a lot of pressure for a freshman. But, I mean, if you pair that electricity with veterans, it's a dangerous mix. I saw they have Kirby Mangum back at defensive end.
Yes, a redshirt sophomore who is already projected as a future first-rounder. And don't forget Javon Cheridor. He transferred in from Kent State.
With a 1,000-yard season already under his belt.
Exactly. So think about that combination. You have a freshman QB who can extend plays with his legs and his arm, and you have a veteran receiver who knows exactly how to get open when the play breaks down. It's elite experience mixed with elite potential.
So what does this all mean for their mindset? Because normally the narrative is defend the title.
And that's the psychological key here. The analysis suggests this team isn't defending anything. They are hunting another one.
That is a crucial distinction.
It is. When you defend, you can play tight. You play not to lose. When you hunt, you play aggressive. And with a linebacker like Boss and a QB like Bullock, this is an aggressive roster. They aren't trying to hold the fort. They are trying to expand the empire.
Which brings us perfectly to the other side of the coin, the revenge tour. Virginia Tech.
Such a fascinating contrast. You have Jody Chestwater as the head coach. His record is It's massive. 65-9. That is an incredible winning percentage. Anywhere else, he's a statue outside the stadium.
Right.
But he is haunted. The two losses that stand out most are both in national championships. That sticks with a coach. That creates a hunger you just can't manufacture in a weight room.
And the narrative here is wild because they actually won the ACC last year, didn't they? They even beat Georgia Tech in the regular season. So they know they can do it.
Exactly. They won the conference, they won the rivalry game, but they didn't get the big trophy. So this isn't a team trying to prove they belong.
No, it's a team trying to finish the job.
And the roster reflects that. It isn't experimental, it is incredibly polished.
Let's talk about that polish. Specifically at quarterback, Kenyon Tam.
A legitimate Heisman candidate. The scouting reports call him the most polished passer in the country. And I think this raises a really important question for you, for the listener. In these simulations, what wins championships? Is it the electrifying playmaking of a guy like Georgia Tech's Cam Bullock? Or is it the polished, steady execution of a guy like Kenyon Tam?
That's a great showdown right there.
Right.
Flash versus Polish. Chaos versus order.
And Tam has help. They went into the portal and got Stephon Harmon from Michigan to play right tackle. They call him a blindside eraser.
I love that term, eraser.
Okay. It means the quarterback doesn't even have to look at that side of the field. He just knows he's safe. When you have a polished QB and you give him an eraser on the edge, that offense is going to be surgical. He's going to carve defenses up because he's not scared.
And on defense, Jabari Beckford at DE. The note here says he plays like he was shot out of a cannon.
And they have a freshman right tackle, Tommy Floyd, who is already being talked about as a future All-ACC anchor. So, like Georgia Tech, they have depth. But the vibe is just different. Georgia Tech is the machine that keeps rolling. Virginia Tech is the team with a chip on its shoulder the size of a boulder.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have the two heavyweights at the top.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. You can't just look at the top two. There are new eras beginning at some major programs, and some of these rosters look terrifying. Let's talk about the Bayou. Let's talk about LSU.
The Gleasack era has begun. Dane Gleasack.
That is a name that commands respect immediately.
He arrives in Baton Rouge with a resume that is arguably better than anyone's. 3 national titles, 2 at Iowa State and 1 at Arizona State. Think about the difficulty setting on winning at Iowa State. He knows how to win everywhere.
And he brought some familiar faces with him, too. It's like a CEO bringing his best executives to the new company.
He did. Rico Mecci, an elite tight end, followed him. And that matters because a tight end is often a quarterback's safety valve. Having a guy who already knows the system, the signals, the coach's expectations, that is a huge advantage for a new coach trying to install an offense.
And they have a running back transfer from Georgia Tech, Ben Presley.
Described as downhill and violent.
That fits the SEC perfectly.
Totally. You need a guy who can get those tough 3 yards. But the name that caught my eye, and I think everyone's eye, is on defense. Tyrann Mathieu Jr.
No way.
The Honey Badger's kid. The free safety. And the reports say he has his father's instincts. That is a ball hawk.
For those who might not remember his dad's prime, what does that instinct even look like on the field?
It means he isn't just playing his zone. He's reading the quarterback's eyes. He breaks on the ball before it's even thrown. He just causes chaos. If he's even half as disruptive as his father was, LSU's defense is going to be an absolute nightmare.
It feels like they are building something nasty there. Flashy, but tough. Speaking of tough, what about Ole Miss? The source calls them a sleeping giant.
Ole Miss is interesting because Coach Blackman is quietly 10-2. He hasn't gotten the same headlines as Clark or Chesswater, but the results are there. Okay. And this roster is built on pure physicality.
I see Luis Delgado, the transfer linebacker from Miami.
He is the heart of that defense. And they have a road grader at right tackle. Road grader implies he moves people against their will. This is a team that just wants to beat you up in the trenches.
But then they sprinkle in this freshman running back, Hakeem Gakui.
Pure electricity, they call him.
So you have the road graders clearing the way for electricity.
Exactly. Imagine the stress that puts on a defense. You spend 3 quarters getting physically beaten up, and then suddenly they hit you with a lightning bolt in the backfield. That is a recipe for an upset.
And then on the West Coast,
yeah.
Well, I guess not just the West Coast anymore, but USC, they're saying, Hollywood is back.
USC is leaning into their identity, star power. They have a freshman quarterback, Grant Stephen, who might start early. He's being framed as a future superstar.
Starting a freshman QB at USC. That is a bright, bright spotlight.
It is. But He has a weapon in Lamar Moultrie at wide receiver who apparently wins every 50-50 ball.
Which, for a freshman QB, is the greatest gift you can possibly have.
It changes the math completely. If he wins every 50-50 ball, it's not 50-50 anymore, is it? It's 1,000. You don't have to be precise. You just think, I'm in trouble, I'll just throw it up to Lamar.
Exactly. Okay, so USC looks flashy, they look explosive, but let's look at the other end of the spectrum for a second, the rebuild. Indiana. Why are we talking about Indiana in a season preview like this?
Because in a simulation season like this, the spoiler is such a critical role. Lehedeto is taken over in Bloomington. It's a total rebuild, but looking at the notes, the culture seems to be shifting.
They mentioned Morris Winter, the new QB, calm, confident.
And a freshman cornerback, Russell Willie, with sticky coverage. Now, why does this matter? Because when you are a top team like Notre Dame, and you are coming off a bad loss, which we know Notre Dame is, and you run into a rebuilding team that is calm and has sticky defense, that is a trap game.
The classic trap game.
Indiana might not win the title, but they can absolutely ruin someone else's season. And in a league this tight, one loss changes everything.
I love a good spoiler. Okay, let's pivot to the future. Because while all these games are happening, there's another war happening off the field. The FBN Top 100 recruiting.
This is where the next dynasties are built. This is the lifeblood of the sport. If the games are the battles, recruiting is the arms race.
We have to start with the #1 overall prospect, Timote North, quarterback.
5-star elite arm talent. Right now, Mizzou leads for him. But the note says the SEC Sharks are circling.
Which means the checkbooks are opening.
It means the heavy hitters are getting involved. If Mizzou can hold on to him, that changes their program for years. If he flips to a powerhouse, the rich just get richer.
But the one that really jumped out at me, and I think the one that should terrify the entire ACC, is the #2 prospect, Deontay Gear, a wide receiver. And guess who the favorite is?
Georgia Tech.
Just imagine. We just talked about Cam Bullock, their freshman QB, who's already electrifying. If you add the #1 receiver in the country to that offense next year.
It's terrifying. You pair Gare with a sophomore Bullock, and you still have Javon Cherador. We could be talking about one of the most explosive offenses in the history of the simulation. That is how you turn a great run into a decade-long dynasty. You stack elite talent on top of elite talent.
It's not just offense, though. Look at what Virginia Tech is doing. They have a commit from Desmond Andrews, #63 prospect.
A defensive tackle. And look
Right.
at the size. 6'6", 303 pounds.
That is a large human being. That's a planet.
That is a towering interior force. The source says he collapses pockets and eats double teams. If Virginia Tech lands him, he anchors that line for years. It's perfect for their identity, tough, physical, defensive-minded.
And LSU is staying true to their brand, too. They have David Burr committed a safety.
Violent downhill safety fits the defensive identity perfectly. It's fascinating to see how these coaches are recruiting players that specifically match the culture they are trying to build.
Well, they're not just collecting stars.
No, they are collecting pieces for a specific machine.
Okay, we have the teams, the players, the recruits. Now let's put it all on the line. The Sim Central analysis gave us some week 1 predictions. I want to run through these because there are some spicy calls here.
Let's do it.
First up, the heavyweight fight we hinted at earlier. #1, Virginia Tech at #9, Ole Miss.
This is a massive test for VT's revenge tour right out of the gate. Ole Miss is physical, as we discussed with their road graders, but the prediction here is Virginia Tech wins 31-27.
That's a close one.
Very close. The reasoning is depth. In a physical 4-quarter battle, VT's depth eventually wears Ole Miss down. The starters can hang, but the second string for VT is just better.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Next one, the statement game. #2, Georgia Tech versus #10, Alabama. Bama is always Bama.
True, but the prediction is Georgia Tech winning 34-24. The takeaway phrase here is great. Bama is tough, but Tech is tougher.
No.
That validates everything we said about Justin Clark's program.
Oh.
They aren't just finesse. They can stand in the phone booth and punch with Alabama.
That'll be a huge statement to start the year.
Okay, clash of styles. #5, USC at LSU. Hollywood versus the Bayou.
And the prediction goes to LSU, 27-20.
Why the edge to LSU there?
The rationale is USC is flashy, LSU is nasty. And playing in Death Valley matters. It's hard for a team relying on freshman star power and flash to go into that environment and execute perfectly. The crowd noise, the pressure, it favors the nastier defensive team.
That nasty factor is real. And finally, the upset special. Indiana at Notre Dame. This is the one. Notre Dame is reeling from that Week 0 beatdown by Clemson. They are bruised. Indiana comes in with that new coach energy and zero expectations. The prediction: Indiana shocks the Irish 24-21. The rebuild starts with a bang.
Man, if that happens, the chaotic energy of this season is going to be off the charts from day one.
It sets the tone for everything. If a rebuilding team can knock off a blue blood in Week 1, nobody is safe.
So what does this all mean? We've got revenge, we've got dynasties, upsets.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about narrative resolution. This season isn't just a collection of games. It's a story about whether the standard at Georgia Tech can be maintained against the hunger of Virginia Tech.
It's about whether the flashy new eras at USC and LSU can overtake the established order.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, that's what makes this simulation so compelling. You aren't just watching scores tick up, you are watching conflicting philosophies crash into each other. Polish versus electric, flash versus nasty.
It's going to be a wild ride. And honestly, looking at that recruiting board, the drama isn't going to end when the season does.
That is actually the thought I want to leave everyone with. We're so focused on who wins the trophy this year, but look at that Georgia Tech recruiting news again.
Oh.
They are the favorites for Deontay Gear, the hashtag 2WR. They already have the freshman phenom QB in Cam Bullock.
Yeah.
So here's the question. If Georgia Tech lands Gear, are we looking at a dynasty that is already locked in for the next 3 years, regardless of what Virginia Tech does this season? Is it possible that even if VT gets their revenge this year, they are just winning a battle in a war they have already lost to Tech's future roster?
Oof. That is a terrifying thought for everyone else in the league. A lost war before the first shot is even fired. That is a perfect place to leave it. We will be watching. Thanks for diving in.
Always a pleasure.